Hey, welcome into another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy. Most people just call me Brett. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen today, whether you're just curious about weight loss, keto, intermittent fasting, those kinds of things. I hope that something we say or do will help or inspire you, because that is my goal, to see people get healthier, lose weight, reverse type 2 diabetes, prolong their life, spend more times with their friends, family, children, etc. And it is what drives me. This is the one singular passion in my life. Poker, a distant second. Even though I have lost 125 pounds and I believe I have cracked the code through years and years of research and trial and error, I am not a medical professional. Nothing I say is intended to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any kind of disease. You should consult with a medical doctor before you begin any kind of a medical protocol, dieting protocol, fasting protocol. That goes without saying. Anything you hear in this podcast is not meant as specific weight loss or medical advice for you. It's simply my opinions, and I'm sharing my experiences as make my way through my weight loss journey, which, as I mentioned, we achieved 125 pounds and we continue on our way. Couple of reminders, a new thing. I've been doing this weight loss podcast for years now, and never charged anything for it, and I never will charge anything for it. But I have decided to accept donations. I've had 2 people in the last week ask how they could support what we do, mostly out of gratitude. Both of them followed my advice. I'd spent time replying to a couple of messages they had, and they've been successful. And look, if there's 2 reasons that you might want to support the podcast. One, that it's helped you personally, and 2, that you want to help me continue to be here and help other people. And so if that's you, I've set up a Patreon account. A Patreon account is very simple. You can support the podcast. I'm asking for you to, the cost of a jar of almond butter. Almond butter. That's a nice keto treat sometimes. So for $5 a month, you can be a Patreon sponsor. So what will that get you? Well, a couple of things. One, you will get access to the posts and things that I make on my Patreon page that nobody else can see. So that might be recipes, diet tips, new things that I learned that I don't share anywhere else, or that I share with you first. And secondarily, we'll do shout outs on each episode, thanking my Patreons for helping keep us going. So that's the least I can do, is recognize you. And so it's $5 to be a keto warrior. And here's how you make that happen. You can go to patreon.com/fatguypodcast. Patreon is spelled just like it sounds. Patreon. Patreon. I think it's a play on the word patron. I'm not sure about that. Patreon.com/fatguypodcast. Look, if you want to support the podcast, be a supporter. We'll give you a shout out. You'll get access to the community page on there where you can ask me questions. You can ask me for help. And my Patreon supporters will get upfront replies. Now, I try to help everybody I can, but some days I'm so overwhelmed with questions, or I'm busy, or I just get distracted. The first people I will go to help will be the Patreon supporters on the Patreon page, and you'll be able to post there and ask questions or make comments, and I will reply to you and try to help you in any way I can. So it's just a little way to help keep us going, man. It costs more than you would think to host a podcast on a high-quality podcast server, and then the software and equipment that goes into making it happen as well. Follow us on social media. Fat Guy Podcast is a username. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're on all of them. And, of course, subscribe to the podcast. The best way to do that is download the Spreaker app, Spreaker, the Spreaker app. Download it. Once you get on there, search for Fat Guy Podcast, hit that heart button, subscribe to the podcast. You'll get notifications about new shows, but you can also scroll back and listen to all previous shows. And I'm not the only podcast on there. There's thousands and thousands of podcasts on there. And if you have an interest in something, I bet you'll probably find somebody on there podcasting about it. It is a cool app, and it's completely free. Spreaker, Spreaker. Of course, if you consume podcasts the normal way, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, whatever, you can find us there, Fat Guy Podcast. Look, all the business is out of the way. Let's get into it. So, you've been faithful for 2 weeks. You've been faithful for 3 weeks. You've been faithful a month. You've been faithful 2 months. You've been faithful 3 months. No matter what the length of time, bam, something happens and you carb out. Next thing you know, You've done eat bread and grits for breakfast, and then once you did that, you're like, to heck with it. I might as well have a cheeseburger with the bun and fries for lunch. And once you've added that to the mix, by dinner time rolls around, you're like, well, I've done screwed today up. Might as well have some ice cream. What do you do? Is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. It's one day. Whether it becomes the end of the world or not is completely up to you. You decide at the end of that day if what happened today is going to be the end of the world, or if it's just going to be one day out of 365 total days this year. You make that decision. Now, I'm not giving you permission to screw up, permission to cheat a lot, permission to make a lot of mistakes and just keep doing them and everything will be all right, because it won't, because that'll just string day after day after day. And I mean, that's pretty much but it happens. Depression has caused me to carb out. When my mom passed away, it caused me to carb out. The anniversary of her death caused me to carb out. Her birthday caused me to carb out. Look, I've struggled at various times. We all do. What happens after that's what's important. And you control that. That night before you go to bed, you're like, look, that happened. That's in the past. We focus on going forward, and you can fix it, and you can excel from it, and you can continue to lose weight and improve your health. Now, here's how you do it. That's step one. That night before you go to bed, you switch your brain over to, that was just life. That wasn't me being a horrible person. That was just life. It is behind me. Everything that I want is ahead of me. Everything that I've always wanted is still ahead of me. Nothing has changed. That's the mindset you got to have. And when you wake up the next morning, you have that mindset. So now what's your top priority after you get all those carbs? Well, your body's just going to hold on to a lot of water, and you're going to gain a lot of weight the next day or the next 2 days. It's just going to happen. The scale's going to go up 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds. Don't stress out. It's not fat. It's just water. When you add a bunch of carbs, and glucose back into your muscles and liver and all that, your glycogen stores, your body, to suspend that, it's going to need to retain a bunch of water. For every 1 gram of glucose, nearly 4 grams of water. That's just going to happen. No worries. Once you get the glycogen stores depleted, your body will release the water. Your weight will go right back down. You'll be fine. So know that that's going to happen, and don't stress out about it. So step 2, what do? Well, you got to get the glycogen stores out, and you want to do it as quickly as possible, because as long as it's in there, you're going to have those ups and downs, roller coaster rides of hunger and cravings and all that stuff. How do you do it? Well, you don't eat. You don't eat that day. You don't eat anything that day. You go the whole day without eating. Morning, afternoon, all the way till you get to night. Now, when you get to 6 or 7 o'clock at night, you stop and evaluate. Can I go till tomorrow at 10 or 11? And I want you to be honest with yourself. Don't be weak about it. Don't be wimpy about it. Just be honest. If you can do it, you feel confident you can do it, then you plow through. You keep going. You want to help yourself a little bit? Get you a little bit of lemon water with a tablespoon apple cider vinegar in it and drink it. Drink a glass of that. It will help not only with hunger and cravings, it'll help bring your blood sugar on down further, and it'll help you not have cravings throughout the night and through the next morning. So that's optimum. And we'll talk about what you do at 10 or 11 the next morning after we cover what you do if your answer is no, I can't make it. So you get to 7 o'clock that night, and you're just like, I just can't do it. I can't make it till 10 or 11 tomorrow morning. Can't do it. I got to eat. So here's what you do. You're going to eat a meal that's based on nothing more than beef, whether that either be hamburger or steak. And you're allowed to have some cheese, a slice of real cheese. You should already know this. None of that processed American singles or anything. Real cheese that's 0 carb. It could be cheddar. Could be Gouda. Gouda's my favorite. Cheddar's probably my second favorite. Real cheese. You get it from the cheese section, but it's not that crappy single stuff that is a cheese-like product. It's a processed cheese thing. It's not real cheese. Real cheese has 0 carbs. Havarti cheese is good. Pick one. Colby Jack is another of my favorites. So if you make you a hamburger, Then I'd make the hamburger patty, get you a good hamburger. Now, if you have quarter-pound hamburgers, that might not be quite enough. You might want to do 2 of them. If you have third-pound hamburgers, that should be plenty. Cook that bad boy up, season it up, salt, pepper, maybe a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, not too much on there. Slap you a piece of that cheese on there, melt it. And if you want to make it more of a burger experience, then put your tablespoon of mayo on there and swirl it around. Just a couple squirts of some mustard on there. Eat it. Eat it and enjoy it. It will be filling, it will be satisfying, and you'll be fine, and you will not have spiked your carbs. You won't have spiked your blood sugar that much. So you won't have to worry about cravings coming from it. If you choose steak, same thing. Cook that steak. When you get it out, of course, you ain't going to put cheese or mayo on it. You're going to put butter on it. Get you a tablespoon of butter. Melt that butter on the top of it. Season it up with whatever you like. If it's onion powder, garlic powder, whatever. Eat that steak. Enjoy the heck out of that steak and be done with it. Now, if that doesn't sound appealing to you, then you're not hungry. If you've made it all the way to that afternoon at 6 or 7 that evening, and you're like, I don't want to eat a hamburger. I don't want to eat steak. Then you're not hungry. Because if you're hungry, you will dig into that steak or that hamburger like it's the best thing you ever had, and you'll be dang happy to get it. So that's how you'll know you're hungry. Otherwise, you're just craving something. And cravings are not hunger. Cravings are something that'll go away. All right. So we got the 2 categories. Either way, we move to the next day. This is the second day after your carb binge, after your cheat day. If you are a person that did not eat anything the night before, then around 10 or 11, you can begin back on your low-carb keto meal, and your meal should be what I just told those other people to eat the night before. Either the burger patty the way I just described it, or the piece of steak the way I described it. That's it. That should be your basically what will be lunch, 10 or 11, 12 the next day. Then you make it to dinner. And by then, you should be able to move back into what you would normally eat on your keto diet. Whatever it is that's been working for you before the cheat day. Whatever you've been doing that's kept you satiated, that's been low carb, high fat, that's got you to where you are today. Prepare one of those meals for dinner that night, and you are back in the grind. Okay? Now, if you are a person that couldn't go till the next day and you had to eat that burger or steak that night, you will not get breakfast or lunch the next day. You are going to make a 24-hour, around 23-hour intermittent fast till the next afternoon. And once you get there, you will then have whatever it is that you would normally have. Okay? You just got to make it to that next evening at 6 or 7. Propel yourself whatever kind of keto meal that you've been having for dinner. Something that's worked for you along your keto journey. And then you are right back in your routine again. You should have gotten the majority of the glycogen stores out of your system through this 2-day process. Cravings should be back gone away. You should be back in a decent level of ketosis, and you should be right back on track. And so you're asking, what else is there anything extra I can do? Sure there is. The faster you get those glycogen stores out, get that carb out of your body. You want the cravings and the roller coaster hunger to go away and get back to that nice, peaceful, level feeling of ketosis. Exercise. That's the other thing you can do. If you're not a normal exerciser, then by all means do not overstress yourself. Don't risk injuring yourself. Go for a 15 or 20 minute walk that first afternoon, and go for a 15-20 minute walk the next day at lunch or whatever. And that will help you get some of that out. Now, if you are a person who exercises, go ahead and do whatever level of exercise you ordinarily do. Try to do it for 30 minutes that first day after and 30 minutes the second day after. And you might want to up it a little bit. You know, either throw in an extra cardio thing or tack on another 10 or 15 minutes to what you normally do. Do a little extra to help you burn up those glycogen stores that's in your muscles and your liver and get you back to a nice, comfy state of, you know, where we love to be with keto. All right? It's not the end of the world. You're going to be fine. If you enjoy these podcasts, of course, you can now support me on Patreon. God, it would mean the world to me. Patreon, patreon.com/Fat Guy Podcast. And the best thing you can do for me is share this. You just never know whose life you'll change. You can help somebody get control of their life, lose weight, get their blood pressure back normal, reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, reverse all markers of type 2 diabetes. Just the list goes on and on of the things you can do when you eat the right way. You can be a big part of helping somebody else change their life simply by sharing this on your social media page. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.